Boris Johnson faced Tory demands to speed up lockdown easing and make it irreversible today as he vowed to unveil a cautious exit strategy, with all schools reopening from March 8 but precious few other easings until Easter.
The PM is set to reveal his roadmap in a statement to the Commons this afternoon once it is rubber-stamped by Cabinet, after scientists seemingly won the battle for a slow approach regardless of the surging vaccination drive.
The first steps to freedom will prioritize getting children fully back into classrooms in a fortnight's time, while people will also be able to meet one friend or family member in the park for a coffee or a picnic from March 8. However, there are claims that secondary pupils will be told to wear masks in classrooms initially. The next stage of loosening will not be until March 29, when the rule of 6 will make a comeback and be extended to allow 2 households to gather, enabling relatives to meet properly for the first time in months.
That date will also see the reopening of tennis courts and golf courses, and the return of grassroots football.
But people will not be allowed to take holidays over the Easter weekend. And shops, hairdressers and pubs are all likely to remain closed until mid-April at the earliest, regardless of mounting fears about the economic meltdown. The roadmap, which runs to around 60 pages, is set to include modeling supporting the government's tentative strategy.
It will be published alongside more positive news about the effectiveness of jabs in reducing transmission, with Vaccines Minister Nadine Zahawi saying the evidence looks good. A major study published today found they were working spectacularly well in cutting hospital admissions by as much as 95%. But Mr. Johnson will run the gauntlet of anger on his own benches this afternoon, as he sets 4 tests for continuing with any easing, including no new concerns emerging about variant strains. The other criteria are the vaccine rollout going well, jabs being effective at reducing hospital admissions and deaths, and avoiding a surge in hospital cases.
Notably, the rules do not mean that the loosening must stop if infections rise, as ministers believe they inevitably will when schools open. Instead, the focus will be on serious illness that increases pressure on the NHS, with the goal of keeping the R number below 1 apparently downgraded.
Previous modeling has suggested that a third peak will happen when restrictions are eased, with the question whether it risks overwhelming capacity.
There is expected to be a 5-week gap between the main steps in the roadmap, even longer than had been anticipated. Mr. Johnson tweeted this morning, "Our priority has always been getting children back into school, which we know is crucial for their education and well-being. We'll also be prioritizing ways for people to reunite with loved ones safely.
Our decisions will be made on the latest data at every step, and we will be cautious about this approach so that we do not undo the progress we have achieved so far and the sacrifices each and every one of you has made to keep yourself and others safe."
However, ex-Cabinet Minister David Davis said the positive news on vaccines together with the warmer weather going into the summer meant cases will fall. He urged the PM to ensure changes to the lockdown were irreversible.
Tory MP Tim Lawton warned that there must not be any more shifting of the goalposts, attacking the idea that a 5-week delay is needed between loosenings. He told Sky News the default position should be to ease the crackdown. "Let's be opening all these things up unless something absolutely material information changes that," he said. "We now have a third of the adult population vaccinated with vaccines that appear to be effective. That's a wholly different situation to that we were in the last lockdown." Former Chief Whip Mark Harper, chair of the 70-strong Tory COVID recovery group, said, "Keeping restrictions in place because a new variant may come along in the future is a recipe for never unlocking. Ever."
Children in Scotland and Wales are already returning to classrooms from today, although the move is being staggered.